Hi everyone, I'm Chabeli. I'm a board certified anesthesiologist assistant and I make videos on the CA lifestyle. I kind of want to break my thought process down from why I chose anesthesia to begin with, how I felt about it when I was looking into the profession, and how I feel about it now. In terms of my background, I'm a chemistry major. I was doing research for multiple years. I did a couple of different internships. I graduated and I was doing research in a well-known institution. All my research was pharmacology based with medical applications. I did feel like it was very fulfilling work and I loved it. However, I want to have more of patient interactions. I want to see the impact kind of in front of my face as I was taking care of people. So I ended up transitioning from research to the medical field. And coming from my pharmacology background, anesthesia was always something that stood out to me. I really enjoyed that in anesthesia, you could see a direct impact of the choices you made in terms of the drugs you chose to give. I liked the fact that it was high acuity care. I liked that you were taking care of one patient at a time for a very important part of their life, essentially, or their day at least. You're getting them through this intimidating part of going through surgery, and I felt like that was gonna be really fulfilling. I also liked that it was shift work. You could have a work-life balance with it, and I also felt like it was very well compensated. So anesthesia definitely was on my mind when I made the transition from research to medicine. However, I was slowly ruling out going to medical school for my journey, and I wasn't sure how I could do anesthesia as an advanced practice provider, so I wasn't fully sure on how to go into anesthesia. I ended up becoming a scribe, and I worked alongside physician assistants. So that kind of stood out to me more. I got to see real examples of what physician assistants were like. So I ended up thinking about that route. So when I worked with physician assistants, I kind of did more research overall on mid-level providers, and I learned about certified anesthesiologist assistants. However, I didn't see any examples of it in my day-to-day. I had questions about the fields, but looking into being a CA, I knew I would have to leave the city I grew up in that I was very familiar with. I knew I would leave New York if I did this. However, I still had questions over how realistic this profession was. How realistic was the salary? What was the day-to-day like for CAs? I didn't have any examples that I worked alongside with, so I wanted to do some investigation into that. And one of the easiest ways I found to do that was to go on social media and kind of look up like hashtag anesthesiologist assistant. And I saw this page, which is called Med Takeovers. And this page would kind of follow different professions on their day-to-day. So it would go with physician assistant in all kinds of fields. They also followed MDs, and they also followed 2 anesthesiologist assistants. I still remember watching their videos, and I remember seeing them show their day-to-day, and I remember them also validating the schooling process, validating the salary, and I felt like, okay, there are real people that are doing this. I kept looking on Instagram trying to see like more examples, which there weren't many, and now there are a lot more, which is awesome. But I ended up seeking out shadowing opportunities, and that again solidified the decision for me. When I was shadowing, I did feel like this was going to be a job that fit my personality and fit what I want to do in medicine. So I felt more confident in the field. The part about leaving home I still had questions about, but I had amazing examples though with my parents who had left Mexico in their 20s and went to the United States. And they did that without knowing much English. They didn't have a financial support system. They didn't have a safety net. They took that chance, to better their family's future and opportunities that they didn't have back home. And so that's the way I saw it. My parents could do it without knowing English, and now they're business owners and they own property. I felt like I could take this opportunity, I could do amazing things with it. So I was inspired, and I was motivated and encouraged by my family. I could leave for a few years and potentially work in some of the states that were close to home. So for a New Yorker, that would be Washington, D.C., Ohio, and Vermont. I'd always be on Reddit, and people were posting that CAs could work in the VA hospitals. And it wouldn't be at the same compensation, but I figured if I really wanted to be close to home because of family, or I wanted to raise a family and I wanted a support system, and I wanted to be in New York, that was one possibility for me. So there were some options that I was playing out in my head. However, I did feel like there was going to be a lot of growth, and the fact that I was a New Yorker, I felt like I could contribute towards the legislative efforts in New York. And I'll also touch on that a little bit later. Now we go on to the next part, which is actually leaving home and how that process was like. Starting the program in a new city with all this information that I was learning was intimidating, and it was overwhelming. I was starting over. I didn't have a lot of people that I knew in the city, and there was so much information to learn. And to be honest, like just studying in general could be isolating and lonely, but starting over and building new relationships, that has its own challenge as well, So there were times where I felt isolated, where I felt lonely, where I felt overwhelmed by school. I was crying sometimes. It was definitely harder than I thought it would be. However, I still feel like it was worth it. I left what I was used to. I left New York and I went to a different city, and there's really no place like New York, so that was its own adjustment. I had left some of my best friends behind. I wasn't seeing my family every day like I used to, so that was definitely a challenge. However, I was in this program with 40 other people that were going through this journey with me, and I ended up making great friends with my classmates, and some of my best friends today are my classmates that I met in this program. So I ended up developing a new support system. When tests were over, me and my friends would hang out. I would sometimes party with them. Like it was still a lot of fun. It was a challenge for sure, but it was definitely worth it. Along my journey, I also got into a relationship which was extremely supportive, that I'm super grateful for, that I'm still in today. And we ended up being in a long distance relationship. And he was an incredibly supportive person during my clinical journey. And I'm so grateful for him, and I'm still so grateful. He's so supportive still today. When I come home and I'm stressed after work, he's super supportive, and I'm very grateful for him. So that's to say, even though I left an incredible support system in New York, I developed a new one. I'm super grateful for the journey I went on, and I feel like I have amazing people in my life today because of this process. I also feel like I grew so much because I completely, kind of changed my life. I went to a new place, and I was constantly changing environments, and I'm still, adapting to a lot of different things that happen in my work. And I feel like I'm a better person for this whole journey that I've been on, through the schooling to leaving home. I definitely did it without realizing how hard it would be, but I still feel like it was worth it. So that honestly has encouraged me to start this YouTube channel, to spread the awareness of the field, to add to the legislative efforts, add to the funding states that will be opening up in the future. Since I've started school, I believe there's 3 or 4 states that have opened up, which are Kansas, Utah, and Pennsylvania. There have been multiple schools that have opened up since I've started school, so I've seen so much growth in the field, and I've seen so much growth in myself, so I have no regrets going into this field. I'm so grateful for the journey it's put me on. I feel like I'm a better person. I have incredible people in my life because of it, and I'm very grateful for this job. It's a challenging job. It definitely is. That's why my support system is there, and through the challenges, I'm very grateful for everything that has come from it. If I was back in that position of applying, I would be more encouraged now more than I was before to do it, because there's more awareness, there's more of a social media presence, there's more states that have opened up, there's more schools that have opened up, and the field is growing. To me, I would feel encouraged to still go into the profession. It's going to be a very personal decision to make, but it's something that if you feel like the field is right for you, if you're open-minded, it could be very worth it for you. But honestly, that's a very personal decision to make, and it's very challenging, but to me, it has been worth it. I hope that reassures people, and I hope that if you're looking into it, you continue to look into it, you continue to shadow and see if this is what you want to do, and keep an open mind about this field. So if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them down below. I have been trying to answer as many questions as I can, and I do try to make a list of questions that I don't answer, and planning on a lot of different video ideas, so stay tuned for that. And otherwise, have a great week, have a great day, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya.